on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Locking down the middle of the day.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Hope your work week's off to a great start. Good news on the college football landscape over the weekend. Not so much in the National Football League down here in South Louisiana, but we're talking about it over the next 2 hours. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. Denton Day, Sirius XM college football overtime with us in 30 minutes talking about the weekend nationally in college football. We'll get to the Saints' absolute debacle of a loss last night in the second hour. A lot of things to talk about as far as the Southeastern Conference goes. We'll do that at straight up 2 o'clock. Get you the updates on my picks against the spread and just my general thoughts about the SEC action over the weekend. But we do start with LSU and Arkansas. Tigers win 34-31. I knew walking out of the stadium on Saturday night, as I walked across into the parking lot, up into the studio to do the post-game show, I said, this feels like one of those games that my tenor and tone in post-game immediately after is going to be different than I feel on Monday. I felt like that was going to be the case. And yes, on the post-game show, like Brandon Taylor's sitting there with me, and we harped on the defense a good bit, because you just didn't expect LSU to allow Arkansas to roll up 31 points in the game and to score as freely as they did in the second half. And I want to talk about that certainly 15 minutes from now. I want to start today. We're starting our week. It's Monday. Nobody wants to have the Monday blues. You want a little bit of positivity in your life on a Monday to start things off. So I am going to start with LSU's offense and the way that the Tigers performed in this game and have performed now through a month of the season. LSU scored on its last 6 drives of the game. And all of those drives were 68-plus yards. It wasn't like they got set up on short fields. LSU was consistently driving the football down the field and scoring. They got a field goal for their first score early in the second quarter. They went down and got the late touchdown right before halftime. They come out, take the football, and 3 straight touchdown drives, and then they bleed 5 minutes and 1 second off the clock in the final drive to get the field goal that wins the game. I went back over the last 3 weeks post-Florida State. I know, Grambling, as I've referred to it on here for a month now, was a scrimmage. But then you take the first 2 conference games against Mississippi State and Arkansas, and LSU's offense has been remarkably consistent over those 3 games. They've had the football, not counting drives that ended at the half where they didn't try to score. I threw those out. 28 drives over those 3 games versus Grambling, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. They've had the ball 28 times. They have scored 23 of those 28 times. That's 82% of their drives they have gotten points on. 19 of the 28 have resulted in touchdowns. That's 68% of your drives, almost 7 out of 10 going for touchdowns. Say what you will about Grambling, say what you will about Mississippi State, say what you will about Arkansas and how those aren't championship-level teams, and LSU has aspirations of winning the West and winning the SEC and playing in the college football playoff, and these are not the types of defense you're going to play. Either way, they are doing a really good job on offense. Some of it's scheme, some of it's players, some of it's playmaking, some of it's good fortune, but they're doing a really good job. Jaden Daniels is taking shots down the field. He has absolutely done that the last 3 days. If you're one of those folks who was saying after the Florida State game, same old guy, not pushing the ball down the field, LSU's not taking shots, the last 3 weeks he has. And they were all wide open against Grambling, so who cares? But he dropped it in the bucket 3 different times against Mississippi State. And he did try to push it down the field against Arkansas. Yeah, he misfired on 2 of them in the first quarter. Taking shots, had guys open, was late getting to the read, and was late getting the ball out, and because of that, he underthrew. But you take another shot on a free play, and Brian Thomas cashes it. They're big plays. They're hitting them. And they should, because that should be a significant strength of this offense is getting the ball to really explosive playmakers down the field for big plays. Brian Thomas was awesome. 5 catches for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns of about 50 yards. And Malik Neighbors does his thing. 8 catches, 130 yards, and 2 scores. Averages 16 yards a catch with a long of 36. And you got a little run game going. Finally. That's something we've been waiting on. And Logan Diggs, 14 carries, 97 yards, averages 7 yards a carry. And when they had to have it late in the game to run the clock out, he was good. And the other part of this offense is there was a little bit of versatility there. I love the fact that Arkansas goes down and scores. So they've got you kind of over a barrel here in the first half. And you look up and it's 13-3 after the KJ Jefferson touchdown pass to Broden. And you're going to get the ball inside a minute to play in the half. And generally speaking, LSU over the years has been pretty conservative in that spot. But down 13-3 with all 3 of your timeouts and the preseason all-conference quarterback who's the reigning conference player of the week offensively, like, you got to go try to get something done. And boom, boom, boom. Hit Thomas for 2 big plays, and you're in the end zone. Good aggressiveness, good decision-making, and then excellent execution offensively to make that happen. You show the quick strike ability. Then, on the flip side, late in the game, after Arkansas ties it, which I think they should have gone for 2, but either way, you have to go score, but with a 4-minute offense. The exact opposite of what you were looking at in the first half. And you're able to mount a long drive, 9 plays, 72 yards. You kept your timeouts, were able to use them late. We'll talk a little bit later whether or not they were used the way that I would have used them, and they probably weren't. But the same offense that was quick strike and explosive when you needed points before the half was able late in the game to embark on a 5-minute drive, to chew up some clock, to be efficient, and to put the points on the board that you needed. And you got it done. Was it perfect? No. Was it a really poor start with a punt, a really bad interception, and another punt? No. But after that, 8 plays, 68 yards, got a field goal. 3 plays, 75-yard touchdown. 3 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. 9 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. 10 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. 9 plays, 72 yards, got the field goal. LSU's offense is very, very good. And you can always find room for improvement. You can always critique. But as we approach game after game, you start with Ole Miss this week, and you got Missouri at 11 a.m. the following week, and Army and Auburn and Florida and Alabama and A&M. Like, we know what's coming. Each and every week when we start to look at these games, you can start with the baseline of, man, LSU's got a really good offense. Same group that rolled up 300 yards against Florida State couldn't convert the short yardage plays on 4th down, so the scoreboard didn't reflect how well LSU was moving the ball. But with Jaden Daniels, even when he didn't have his A game, they still rolled up 34 points and went on 6 straight 68-plus yard scoring drives. It's hard to ask for a ton more than that. We'll see what they do on the right side of the offensive line. We'll see what the running back situation shakes out. But you've got Daniels, you've got Neighbors, you've got Thomas, you've got Mason Taylor, and you're really tough to stop. And the stats I laid out at the very top of the show illustrate that. You're scoring over the last 3 games on 82% of your drives, and you're scoring touchdowns 68% of the time. And it was enough to win the game. You're sitting here 2-0 in league play. That's what you needed. We understand that for the second year in a row, there was a huge gut punch to start the year, and really, for the 4th year in a row, you lose the opener. But this staff had this opportunity last year, and they kind of took off on a runway. Now, you got Tennessee in that situation. You got blown out a second time. But you can see that this team's kind of taken that soft runway where they got probably it's 2 of the 3 worst teams in the West. And you got to continue to get better. You have to play better on Saturday, this coming Saturday, than you did this past Saturday. And I think everyone knows that. but the offense was very, very good. And I personally wanted to start there because it's Monday, and let's just get off to a nice start talking about some good things. But you're well aware that there was some really bad stuff, and the defense was chief among that for the majority of that football game. So we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and we'll talk a little bit about what I saw on the defense and kind of what needs to happen, I guess. We'll talk with Denton Day coming up in 20 minutes about the weekend in college football nationally. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. You've been thinking about joining FanDuel? There's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app's easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options. They include spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues not withdrawal bonus method expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're someone who has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there in the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We'll recap LSU, Arkansas, Saints, Packers, and your full football weekend. Join us for Monday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right. Talk some offense there. Offense was good. Rolled up 34 points. Scored on 6 straight drives. Scored quickly. Ran some time late. Got it done. That's all good. The defense was not. With about 3 minutes to go in the first quarter, Andre Sam had the interception. And that was a good play. Guy that's thrust into a starting role. Got Greg Brooks out. Sam comes in, makes a play for an interception. Great, grand, wonderful. LSU didn't get a stop after that. Halftime was kind of a stop, and then they got the interception on the last play of the game because Arkansas had to throw it as far as they could. But you didn't get a stop after that. Arkansas goes 12 plays, 75 yards, gets a field goal. They go 8 plays, 75 yards, get a touchdown, a 15-play drive, takes 53 yards for a field goal, then 2 straight 75-yard touchdown drives in the fourth quarter once you've taken a lead. It's just bad. And that Arkansas offense has a veteran quarterback who is good. But his playmakers are not great. Rocket Sanders, the running back, not playing. You've got a couple of D2 transfers that are out there at wide receiver, a true freshman tight end that's just running wide open. And LSU had no answer late. And that honestly surprises me a little bit. If Keon Coleman is going to go up over your 5'10" defensive back and moss folks in the end zone, like, that's not stunning to me. He's a pro, and he's a better player than the guys you got out in the secondary. But Arkansas's guys running open and making plays over the top of you, and that's significantly concerning because those guys are not dudes. And for LSU not to be able to stop Arkansas on those 2 fourth quarter drives where they go 75 yards for touchdowns. I realize one kind of a busted play. I got you, but you can't have a busted play. There are quarterbacks in this league that'll burn you if you bust. And that was Zy Alexander. Kirk Herbstreit on the television copy that I watched yesterday had a great description. He's like, look, you've got to plaster onto those receivers when the quarterback breaks contain. You can't look into the backfield and look at the quarterback and let the guy just run right behind you. And that's what he did. He just totally took his eye off the wide receiver. That's the important guy. So the defense is a huge, huge concern. I thought there were a couple of positives defensively in terms of personnel. Whit Weeks continues to really impress me. He creates some pressure in the backfield. He is intense, makes tackles. That's good. It was nice to see Deshaun Womack get in there in some pass rush situations. He got a sack. Helmet came off, but he got the sack. That's something they're going to continue to cycle him in on pass rushing downs to play. And I thought those 2 freshmen were fairly positive. I think Mekhi Wingo is still a force, and that's a good thing. But outside of that, there's just not a lot of positive on defense. Your guys don't cover very well. Getting a pass interference and a touchdown catch on one play in the end zone, not great. I don't love some of the guys up front. I'm waiting for Mason Smith to create some pass rush and some issues in the backfield. He, more often than not, just kind of standing up and occupying a blocker. I don't see him penetrating the way that I see Mekhi Wingo getting back there and creating some disruption. And I think LSU has a better chance to affect the quarterback with some pass rush than they do of becoming a really good coverage team. I just don't think you have the guys to be a consistently great coverage team. I hope I'm dead wrong. And Harris continues to develop and learns how to play some zone and can be a little bit more versatile and makes those plays on the ball when he's there. I hope Zy Alexander continues to improve in his first year in the FBS. But right now, it's hard for me to envision those guys becoming the defensive backfield that we're used to seeing. It just doesn't, to me, look like Patrick Peterson and Morris Claiborne and Tyrann Mathieu and Harold Simon and Jalen Mills and Tre'Davious White and Derek Stingley and Christian Fulton and Jamal Adams and Grant Delpit. It just doesn't. It doesn't. And so KJ Jefferson's a hard guy to sack. I get that. He's big. He moves okay. He's a tough guy to get on the ground, but Arkansas's offensive line's had real problems this year. And I just didn't think LSU did a good enough job of affecting him. I asked some questions about Matt House this weekend and about my thoughts on him. I think he's a really good defensive coordinator. I thought last year I can't tell you what the in-game adjustments were in some of those games, but I can tell you that LSU, even in games where they started slow defensively last year, Ole Miss got down 17 points. Mississippi State, you got down 2 scores. Even in games you started slow in, usually they figured things out. Auburn was the same way. In all 3 of those games, LSU allowed a total of 3 points in the second half. And in my football observer opinion, that's Matt House seeing something, diagnosing it, and getting his guys in position to fix it. And they just didn't fix anything in the game on Saturday night because Arkansas continued to score. And that's a bummer. And while I'm still going to sit here and feel positively about LSU being 2-0 in league play, yeah, I think you'd be crazy if you just buried your head in the sand and said, 2-0, no big deal. Because you're not getting enough pressure on the passer most of the time. You didn't on Jordan Travis, and you didn't in this game. You really couldn't against Grambling. And you're just not covering well enough. You didn't cover early against Grambling. You didn't cover at all really against Florida State. And you let KJ Jefferson really have a huge day. And he's throwing to what I would consider a very average SEC receiving corps. Jefferson, 21 of 31 in the game for 289 yards and 3 touchdowns. Let Luke Haas, a freshman tight end, go for 116 yards. I don't know if it was busts in coverage, inability to cover, just seemed wide open. And while I guess you could say it doesn't matter, I'm a little surprised that Sam Pittman did not go for 2 after their last touchdown. They scored with 5 minutes to go, and I think you got an opportunity there to go for 2 and try to win it. LSU's going to get the ball back. It's not like LSU last year against Bama where it's overtime and you've got a chance to make one play from 2 yards. But you got a veteran quarterback, a defense that's tired and not playing well. I thought Arkansas had a chance to now, if the game plays out exactly the way it did, it wouldn't have mattered because LSU went down and got a field goal and they would have won it anyway. But I felt like Sam Pittman kind of cowered there. And maybe his thinking was, look, we're as good as them. We get into overtime, we'll score. But I just think you would have put more pressure on LSU. You certainly would have changed the environment in the stadium if you got a 2-point conversion there to take the lead. And even if you got to back up to the 5-7 yard line, like you hadn't had too much issue scoring on LSU. Quarterback was pretty hot. He's a threat to run it as well. I was thrilled sitting in the stadium, and I tweeted as much. Like, I'm glad they didn't go for 2. Felt like LSU dodged one there, and then LSU went down and got it done. I want to talk later on in the show about the LSU's time management late in the game and how they handled the clock and the way that things shook out for the last field goal. I talked about it on the post-game show with Brandon Taylor back on Saturday night, and we'll get into it at the end of the hour after we chat with Denton Day. I thought they went with like a 96% probability on a make there. Like from that distance to kick that ball, like you're going to make 96 out of 100 there, which is really good odds to win the game. But I don't know that that's exactly how I would have handled things. Got it done, though, which is really all that matters in the end. 104.5 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust are looking for the ultimate tailgate. Snap a pic of your setup and upload it to 1045ESPN.com for a chance to win a $500 Rouse's gift card. Our judges are going to select a winner on September the 29th. That's coming up at the end of this week. It's the ultimate tailgate giveaway from Rouse's Markets, Citizens Bank and Trust, and 1045 ESPN. And congratulations to Beatsy Plaisance. Beatsy, our Week 4 winner in the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em Contest, wins a Twin Peaks gift card. Don't forget to make your picks for Week 5 by noon on Thursday. You can play the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em today at 1045ESPN.com. We got Denton Day, head coach. Why would I say that? The host of College Football Overtime every single Saturday night on Sirius XM. Won his thoughts on Notre Dame and Ohio State. Won his thoughts on Alabama and Ole Miss. Some thoughts maybe on LSU and Arkansas, as well as what went on out in Eugene, Oregon, with Dan Lanning kind of talking a little trash about Colorado and then running up the score. I thought that was at least interesting. So we'll talk with Denton Day coming up in the next segment. Still got SEC conversation to have at the top of hour 2, and we'll talk about the Saints on Sunday as well, which it's disappointed as you can be in that LSU defense. The Saints as a whole were just choked yesterday. We'll talk about that next on Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Marucci Sports, certainly a champion of Louisiana. Marucci was founded in a backyard shed right here in the capital city of Baton Rouge, and today they're outfitting the best players in Major League Baseball with their equipment. An amazing, amazing, just small business that has grown into such a wonderful, wonderful thing here in the capital city. It's not just the bats that they send out there, too. They've got pioneering initiatives such as Baseball Performance Lab. They've expanded their workforce by 137% and helped to attract some talent to the state of Louisiana, as well as keep our top talent home. Meanwhile, the Marucci World Series is a tourism juggernaut. Draw thousands of youth athletes, families, and coaches to Greater Baton Rouge every single July. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. Marucci Sports, certainly a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana like Marucci Sports, go to lwcc.com and /champions. Nominate them to be a champion of Louisiana. We'll tell their story right here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding.
But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Charles Hanniger join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We're at Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Andy Isco is with us from Las Vegas. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along on this Monday. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Shout out to the Jim's Firearms Hotlines, where we find our guy Denton Day, a host of college football overtime every Saturday night. Denton, thanks for the time. How are you?
Hunt, what's going on, man? I'm doing well. Hope you are too.
Doing very well. Tigers got a win by the slimmest, well, not the slimmest of margins, but one of the slimmer margins. You can have a 3-point win over Arkansas over the weekend. But I think some more interesting football elsewhere in the country. What did you learn about the Ohio State Buckeyes on Saturday?
I learned that they're still one of the most talented teams in college football. I thought that game was a game that Notre Dame was for sure going to win. And even that final drive for Ohio State, the quarterback position didn't look great. Kyle McCord didn't look great, but they just had better guys on the outside. And Notre Dame simply couldn't stop them. So while Ohio State by no means is even close to what you would consider their peak, man, they still got some dudes on offense, and they're going to be a hard team to stop once they really get it rolling, if they can really get it rolling.
What did this do to Notre Dame's goals for the season? Still out in front of them?
I do still think that if they want to make it to the college football playoff, that is within the realm of possibility. But they're now in the position where not only do they have to run the table, there is the potential they would need a little bit of help. I mean, if certain other teams and other conferences start losing games, that would be the help they need. But if you get 3 unbeaten, conference champs, especially if one of them's in the Pac-12, I find it very difficult for Notre Dame to jump maybe a one-loss conference champ.
I would agree with that. Looks like Florida State's got a real chance to win their conference. They get a win at Clemson, a crazy game. Even the morning's late there. Do you think Florida State is going to be a playoff team?
Well, it's about time they look good again, right? Because after that Boston College, I was worried. I was like, man, this Florida State team is just against a team in Boston College that's not necessarily bad, I don't think, but it's a different beast when you beat Clemson, right? Especially when you're on the road against Clemson. I thought this was kind of a prove-it test for Florida State to see if they really were as real as someone like me thought, and they passed. I think the college football playoff is very much now, they should have their eyes set on that. If they win the ACC unbeaten, they're in. It's as simple as that, especially if they end up beating Clemson twice. That would just kind of be the cherry on top. But the ACC is looking to be more than just a 2-team conference this year, so there's going to be some other tests down the road for Florida State. But as of right now, for the first 4 weeks, this has been a perfect start for them.
You think Dan Lanning ran the score up on Saturday?
Yes and no. I thought if Oregon really wanted to, they could have scored more points. But, man, they look good. They look really good. And this matchup to them was personal. It sure seemed. I had a player join me after that game, and he said there was some stuff that Colorado was doing when it came to the way they were warming up and being on the wrong side of the field when they were warming up. So there was some personal stuff there, but I thought Oregon looked really good. They probably could have scored more points if they really wanted to. So I don't know. I don't think he necessarily ran it up, but there was no accident that they scored 40 points and beat them the way they did.
Yeah, they were going for some fourth downs late in the game, and I thought a little bit was interesting, and especially can you consider that they're not going to be in the same conference as Colorado moving forward. It was kind of a shot across the bow, I guess. Who's the best team in the Pac-12?
Right now, I think it's Washington. I think Washington and USC are very close, and then I think Oregon and Washington State are not too far behind those two. But I'm a big Michael Penix guy. He was my Heisman pick at the start of the season, and at the start of the season, I had Washington getting into the college football playoff. I'm standing by that now. I think Washington is the best team in the Pac-12.
Interesting. Alabama and Ole Miss from Bryant Denny. Alabama goes back to Jalen Milroe. I don't think it was an offensive clinic, but they stuffed Ole Miss in a locker with their defense. Did that surprise you that Lane Kiffin couldn't muster any more offense?
Yes, I was stunned. I thought this was the more probably the most shocking results of the weekend, to be honest. Not necessarily in the fact that Alabama won, but that Lane Kiffin, this offensive genius who was firing shots at the Alabama defense and questioning who's calling plays and the way that their defense is playing, the fact that they only muster up 10 points. And Jackson Dart, who had looked pretty good throughout the first 3 weeks of the season, no touchdown passes for him. He had an interception. I was very surprised that Ole Miss could only score 10 points and Alabama beat them the way they did.
Let's go back up to the Big Ten before we come back to the SEC. Penn State 31-0 over Iowa. I mean, Iowa's kind of a punchline offensively and have been for a little while, but it's still pretty impressive.
Yeah, they're a punchline on the offensive side, but 31-0 is a different beast. I mean, we know they need to score 25 points a game for the kid. I mean, he doesn't even deserve a first name at this point, for the kid to keep his job as the offensive coordinator. But I really thought this was more a testament to what Penn State was, because I had actually thought that Iowa's offense was not as bad as people were making it out to be. I thought they were doing some good things. They didn't do a lot of good things this weekend. I mean, Penn State, I know it's a whiteout, but Cade McNamara has played in big-time games before. I thought he was going to step up, and that offense for Iowa was abysmal. Penn State, I think, is a really, really good team in the Big Ten Conference, but 31-0 is, I mean, 31-0 in conference play in general is an insane score to post. The Nittany Lions should be very proud of themselves.
Who do you think the best team in the country is today? I've asked you this before.
You have asked me this before. Oh gosh, I think I've told you Florida State before.
You have?
I want to see Georgia beat someone that's like not UAB. You know, I know the one against South Carolina was a nice win for them, and that should count for something. But they haven't played enough people for me to say that they're definitively the best team in college football. But at the same time, neither is Michigan. I don't know. I might. Is it weird if I say Texas? I think
I was not expecting that. So it might be a little weird.
It might be a little weird, but it's either Texas or Florida State. I need to see the top two teams in the nation, at least ranking wise, start to play teams that are actually like competent football teams.
Yeah.
So right now, you know what? I'll stick with Florida State. I'm going to stick with Florida State. The Texas thing is too hipster. I'm not there yet. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'll say that Florida State is still the best team in college football.
LSU's headed to Oxford for a 5 o'clock kick this coming weekend. Obviously, the Ole Miss coming off a bitterly disappointing loss. LSU's won a couple of league games in a row. How do you handicap that one?
I think LSU is rolling right now. I know the scoreboard suggests, and maybe you guys were sweating that one out at the very end against Arkansas, but I think LSU is really rolling right now. I think Jaden Daniels and this offense, they have kicked into a gear that they did not have week one against Florida State. So I like LSU to handle business this weekend. I think if they can really get this thing rolling and continue it the way that it's been, they are the team to watch in the SEC. I don't care about Georgia. I don't care about Alabama. I don't think either of those teams have anywhere near the offensive ceiling that LSU has, and we know you got to score points if you want to win, especially in the SEC. So I'm really impressed with LSU. I think they handle business this weekend in a much more comfortable fashion.
A little sneaky spot here. Notre Dame had game day come, Ohio State, game of the week, monster game comes down to the wire, and then you lose. And now you got to get on a plane and go to Duke. I was curious to see what the line would be. Notre Dame's a 6-point favorite at this point. Is there a chance Duke can win that game?
Yeah, if you would have asked me this at the start of the season, no chance, right? Like Notre Dame's going to go in there, they're going to win by 30. Sam Hartman's not going to play in the second half. But Duke has been one of the bigger surprises this season because Duke is a football school now, which is weird. It doesn't sound right at all. But I do like Notre Dame in the bounce back here. I think this run that Duke is on, they're a really good team. Their running game is really, really impressive. And Riley Leonard at quarterback is a great player. But I think Notre Dame is still more talented than they are. And I think even going on the road, and with all due respect to Wallace Wade Stadium in Durham, North Carolina, it's not exactly the toughest place to play. Now, if you're going there to play basketball in Cameron Indoor, tough place to play. Football, it hasn't earned that yet, so I don't think that's going to be a huge factor here. I think Notre Dame covers that 6 points.
He's Denton Day. You can hear him every Saturday night, college football, overtime after the games run final. He's right there on Sirius XM. He's with us every single Monday. Thanks, Denton.
I appreciate it, man.
Always enjoy our conversations with Denton Day. I think it's fascinating. I love the fact right now, absolutely love the fact that I can ask him in 2 separate weeks, hey, who's the best team in the country? And he's got to sit there and think about it like, is it Florida State? Georgia hadn't played anybody? Do I know? Okay, what if I said Texas? And then you think, well, is it Michigan? I love that aspect of this. And my first allegiance is always going to be like, what's best for LSU and how can you get LSU to win a championship? But secondarily, especially doing this job and then watching football, and then you want a little parity. You want a little unknown. If you're just going to whittle everything down to Alabama and Clemson for 5 straight years, or toss Ohio State in here or there, like that's not super interesting. But if you can tell me that, hey, maybe it's Michigan, maybe it's Texas, maybe it's Florida State, maybe it is Georgia, maybe it's somebody out west. He thinks Washington's the best team out there, but Caleb Williams gives USC a shot. Like, it's just, that to me is a healthy thing. And it always shakes itself out, and we'll see. And maybe at the end we get down to it and it's Georgia, Michigan, Bama, and Clemson, theoretically. Like, no, they've got two losses, so it's not going to be them. But it's like, maybe it gets down to it and it's just the same old. And if that's the case, we'll just take it for what it is. But I want to strike a balance between these knowns always being there and between TCU losing by 60. And if I think that there's somebody that's worthy of knocking on that door, I think that makes things a little bit more interesting. So we'll see. That's just a look around things nationally in college football. We will talk SEC football coming up here in about 20 minutes. I've got my my thoughts on what we saw over the weekend, and I've got one kind of admittedly hot take that I'll toss your way and see what you all, the listeners, think. But when we come back, we'll shift back to LSU and Arkansas because I want to talk a little bit about the way that the clock was handled late and kind of my thoughts on that entire situation. So we'll do that when we come back on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center right here in southeastern Louisiana. The collaboration between Ochsner and MD Anderson is going to provide patients in our region with access to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. Ochsner is the first and only provider in Louisiana with a fully integrated cancer program that's based on MD Anderson's practice standards and their treatment plans. The physicians have access to MD Anderson's specialists and researchers. They also have access to clinical trials that are available to eligible patients. And the best news, this expert care is going to be offered in 7 different locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany, and Baton Rouge. Ochsner and MD Anderson working together to certify additional sites in the future. We're all affected by cancer one way or another. Either have it or have a loved one that's got it or had it. The fight continues, and Ochsner and MD Anderson are all over it. If you want more information about Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, you can visit ochsner.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206 9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644.
Tune in this Sunday as we bring you a trio of NFL games. Starting with our noon kickoff, the Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. Then immediately following, we'll bring you the Raiders and Chargers before our nightcap, the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Jets, here on 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
These are the games that you got to find a way to win. We didn't have our best performance early on, but I thought we really played well at the end of the half and in the second half in particular on offense. And defensively, there's a lot that has to continue to get better. And most of them are self-inflicted wounds that are going to have to get better as we go on the road these next 2 weeks. But all in all, happy with the victory.
That's Brian Kelly after the win on Saturday night inside Tiger Stadium. LSU wins it 34-31. And I was sitting there in the press box as they went down the field at the end. And I thought that the way they handled the clock was a little curious. It all worked out. And as I admitted on the postgame show, I said at the beginning of this show, I think the option they went with there was a 96% probability. And those are really good odds to win the game. 96%. I think a 20-yard field goal is a 96% probability of executing that and getting it where it needs to go. Now, we saw LSU get an extra point blocked last year in a game-tying situation. So certainly it's not 100 out of 100, but it's close. But here's my thoughts on it. You took the football with 5 minutes and 6 seconds to go on the 25-yard line in a tie game. So ideally, you'd like to run the 5 minutes and 6 seconds out and score at the end. Immediately, deep pass down the right side to Malik Neighbors, who's wide open for 36 yards. You're in business. You're up to the 39-yard line. You pass to Brian Thomas for a yard. You go to Logan Diggs for 5 yards. Complete one to Malik Neighbors for 5 yards. And then Logan Diggs gets loose for a 21-yard run down to the 7. Okay? So you get down to the 7-yard line and you take a timeout with a minute 44. So at this point, there's a minute 44 on the clock. You're inside the 10-yard line and you have your 2 timeouts. You can basically do this however you want to do it. Arkansas had to burn their timeouts early in the half because they couldn't hear and they were disorganized, and that's hat tip to the crowd. Bad job, Arkansas, but you're now in control. You got this thing. So they run Logan Diggs for 3 yards and run the clock all the way down to 59 seconds and take their next timeout. And I'm good with this. So now 59 seconds, and you've got 1 timeout left. It's 2nd and 4, and you run the ball for 1 yard. At that point, I would have run a 3rd down play to try to score a touchdown with a timeout in my back pocket to use to set up for the field goal. That's how I would have handled that. Instead, they called a timeout. So you've run yourself out of timeouts, and it's 3rd down. So they wanted to run a little bit more clock, and they threw the ball with Jaden Daniels out of the end zone on purpose to set up for the field goal. I would have run a play to try to score a touchdown, because I feel like although there is risk in fumbling the ball, trying to score a touchdown from the 3-yard line with 50 seconds to go, 45 seconds to go, 20 seconds to go. And we watched it against Florida State last year. They ran a toss and dropped the ball, and LSU got it. Like, I get that there's some risk there, but there's also risk in trying to kick a field goal, getting the snap back there, getting the kick down, blocking everybody, and getting the kick airborne. I'd like my chances with Logan Diggs saying, hey, take care of the football, but let's try to score a touchdown. And then we'll call the timeout. Instead of wasting a play to throw it out of the back of the end zone, I'd like to use that play to try to score a touchdown. They wasted the play, threw it out of the back of the end zone, and that set up 4th down to kick the ball from the 3-yard line. I didn't love the way they handled it. It's not the way I would have handled it in real time, but I will tell you that I think that the way they did it, using the timeouts the way that they did, and throwing the ball out of the back of the end zone and just lining up for a field goal, I think from a 20-yard field goal with 11 seconds to go is, like I said, like 96%. You're very rarely going to have a 20-yard field goal go poorly. I just would have tried one more time to score a touchdown. Brian Kelly said, talked about the last drive that his offense went on after the game.
They had no timeouts. I think we ate over 5 minutes off the clock. I had no intention of giving them the ball back. I don't know if you guys wanted to, but I didn't. And so it was really just a matter of when we call barrier, we're not looking to score. We're looking to score a touchdown in that instance. We wanted to take time off the clock, put ourselves in a good position. We have great faith in our Ramos, our field goal kicker. Put him in a good position, take as much time off the clock. We got it down to about 5 seconds, and it worked out pretty good.
It worked out. It worked out. And it wasn't, when I say I disagree with the way they did it, it's not one of those deals that I think it was just egregious. They just blew it. It was objectively wrong. I don't think that. I think they put themselves in a really good position to win. I just would have done it a little bit differently. Sam Pittman was actually not even asked after the game if they thought about letting him score. He brought it up and said, before y'all even asked, we did talk about letting LSU score. And I guess at that point it would have been when Diggs ran it down to the 7 with 1:44 left. I guess that's where Arkansas could have let LSU score. You figure they score with 1:40 to go, and you're down 7 with the football. They apparently discussed that and decided they were just going to try to stop LSU. And I think I heard Jimmy and Charlie talking about this. Apparently Herbstreit and Fowler were on the headset saying, hey, that's just against everything that Sam Pittman stands for, to sit there and let him score. And that's fine, but you're really putting your team up against it, and you're leaving the fate of the game in a 20-yard field goal. As I mentioned, that's well better than a 90% chance you're going to lose the game. I don't know what the chances are you win the game if you get the ball back down 7 with 1:40 to go, but it's probably better than that. So it's a bad spot to be in, no doubt. But LSU was able to do it, and I think if you're LSU at this point, you got to feel pretty good about your quarterback's ability late in the clock to operate. He did a great job in the first half getting LSU right down the field in 2 plays for a touchdown, and this was an excellent job of execution by the offense to get it into field goal range that easily. I mean, the 36-yarder to start things off to Neighbors was great. Diggs busting the big one there for 21 yards, and you did a really good job of executing your late-game offense and getting to the place you needed to be. So was it perfect in my eyes? No. Was it effective? It absolutely was. And the Tigers get the win on Saturday night inside Tiger Stadium. 34-31, LSU's now 2-0 in conference play, and that's as good as you can be at this point. So we'll certainly take that. If you missed this earlier today, the kickoff time for the Missouri game was announced by the SEC office. LSU and Missouri up in Columbia will play at 11 o'clock in the morning. If you saw my tweet about it, there was a little bit of a celebration. Y'all know how I feel about that. I'm willing to take one for the team and do the radio show until well after midnight for a Saturday night in Death Valley. I will bear that cross. I love it. But if we're going to play in Columbia, Missouri, and I'm going to be back here in Baton Rouge doing pre and post game, I'm okay starting things up at 9 o'clock and being done before 4. And so that's the way that it's going to be. For those that are making the trip up to Columbia, sure, a little bit of a bummer that's an 11 o'clock kick, but we'll see. LSU played very well at 11 o'clock in Starkville, so hopefully that carries over to Columbia, Missouri. LSU went up there and lost in the COVID year. That was the game Miles Brennan got hurt in. Played heroically, but got hurt, and LSU didn't quite get it done there. So 11 o'clock kickoff next week in Columbia, but it's a 5 o'clock kickoff in Oxford this coming weekend, and we'll talk about LSU and Ole Miss a bunch moving forward this week. I do want to talk about Ole Miss and Alabama. I'll talk about the rest of the SEC as well. We'll do that in hour number 2. If you missed any of the first hour of the show, a lot of LSU and Arkansas talk. The first 30 minutes, all LSU and Hogs. Denton Day from SiriusXM. College Football Overtime was with us, as he is every single Monday. You can catch all that on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on Google. Catch us on YouTube as well. Hunt on LSU and Hunt on Saints. Those are the 2 YouTube channels that are all football all the time. We'd really appreciate it if you'd head over there and subscribe to those. We're going to take a time out for Sports Center here. When we come back, SEC football talk. Still got to talk about the black and gold. Got an update on Derek Carr's injury as well. So all that's coming at you in hour number 2. I hope your work week is off to an excellent start. We're moving right along. 1 hour in the books. Come back after Sports Center, hour number 2 of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Latest NFL injury news. Raiders quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is in concussion protocol. His availability Sunday against the Chargers in question. An MRI showed Chargers receiver Mike Williams has a torn ACL. His season's over. Saints QB Derek Carr's week-to-week sprained AC joint, not yet ruled out Sunday against Tampa. 2 straight rough performances by Zach Wilson. Apparently not enough yet for a quarterback change for the Jets. Coach Robert Saleh says he's sticking with Wilson this week. If that's the case, offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett needs a heart-to-heart with his QB, advises ESPN's Ryan Clark.
You don't do this well, you're not ready to do this, but here is what you do well. And I'm going to put you in those positions to allow you to succeed. If we put you in the roll game and the guy's not wide open, use your legs. If you can't use your legs, throw it out of bounds because we do have a really good defense.
Ryan Clark on Get Up. 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. Eagles-Buccaneers, 7:15 Eastern ABC. Bengals-Rams, 8:15 Eastern ESPN, ESPN2. Cincy QB Joe Burrow, questionable, lingering calf injury.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman, and coming up on Tuesday, even though they lost to the Cardinals, I'll tell you why they're not the same old Cowboys this season. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hope your work week off to an awesome start. Quickly, we'll go through my SEC picks, and I'll give you some takeaways from the game. I had the 2 games that I called absolute lead pipe locks of the year. A&M minus the 8. They covered. Auburn can't do anything on offense, so pretty easy cover. A&M does get home. I did have Kentucky covering 13.5 over Vanderbilt. They certainly did that. So that's 2 winners. I had Ole Miss plus a 6.5 against Bama. That one did not get home, so that's a loss. Had the Vols minus 21.5 against UTSA. Easy cover there. Had Charlotte plus 28 against Florida, and they did get inside that number. Appreciate that. Thought Georgia might cover 42.5 against Trent Dilfer's UAB team. Did not quite get there on that one. I took everyone was all over Missouri, so give me Memphis plus a 6.5. Of course, they lost by 7, so that was a loser. I had South Carolina minus 6. That was the other lock of the year over Mississippi State. They only won by 7, but guess what? 7 is more than 6. So it was a 5-3 week for me on SEC football. But I wanted to get you like my takeaways from this week, and we'll start with Ole Miss and Bama. That is the recipe for Alabama. They still have incredibly talented defenders, and they can still beat teams up defensively. Do I think you can win championships playing defense first? No. I think you've got to score a bunch of points to win the huge games in this sport. Until I'm proven otherwise, I'm going to feel that way. But this is Alabama's recipe. They've got a big, strong, physical, deep defense, got a lot of talent, and they stuffed Ole Miss in a locker. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to say something here, and I promise I'm not trying to be a hot take guy. I'm really not. I've watched now a month of SEC football, and I can't say it with 100% confidence, but I'm pretty close. Alabama has the worst starting quarterback in the SEC. The worst. I'm really not trying to be hyperbolic. If you look around the league, and it's not a league littered with unbelievable quarterbacks, I think if Milroe's your starter, he's the worst one in the league. He's indistinguishable for me for some of those like run-first quarterbacks that Mississippi State's had over the years. And, I mean, that interception he threw in the red zone was just atrocious. There's no way Bryce Young or Tua or Mac Jones ever makes that throw. And Alabama's just so limited with what they can do offensively with him in there. It's shocking that they've gotten to this point, but here they are. And I think that that's the worst quarterback situation in the SEC. And they were able to get it done with 24 points because McClellan ran it for 105 yards, and Ole Miss could not do anything offensively, so Bama ends up winning it. But again, Bama only scored 24 points. 356 yards, they threw for 225, and Milroe does hit deep balls, and he threw 2 really good deep balls in the game. But it's just ugly to watch them try to play offense. Really ugly. Here's Ole Miss's problem. They can't run the ball. When you think of Lane Kiffin, you may think of spread the field, high-flying, big offenses at Alabama, wide-open guys, throwing the clipboard in the air, holding his hands up before they even throw the deep ball, like some of that fun stuff that we've seen in Tuscaloosa and in Oxford. But at his core, he wants to run the ball. And last year, they ran it better than anybody in the league. They can't run the ball right now. Quinshon Judkins had 56 yards in this game running. Jackson Dart had 6 yards running. They finished the game with 29 carries for 56 yards. That is less than 2 yards per carry. That's supposed to be the identity of this team, and they can't block up front. They couldn't push Tulane around. They were in a dogfight with Georgia Tech. And then they stepped up in class to the big boys. They couldn't knock them off the ball. Quite frankly, the opposite happened. They got punched in the mouth, and it all falls on Jackson Dart's plate. And they couldn't get it done offensively. This was the biggest game for Ole Miss football in years. Because if they could beat Alabama in this game, where they had the better quarterback, then all of a sudden you set up a home game at LSU to put the West in a stranglehold. And they couldn't do it. Couldn't get it done. Interesting game in College Station as Texas A&M throttles Auburn. Auburn's got significant quarterback issues. That's fairly obvious. They've now played 3 of them, and none of it's very effective. Thorne is totally out of sorts, not very athletic, not accurate with the ball, not making good decisions. Put Ashford in there, and he is a really good athlete, but he's not accurate with the ball. You can't count on him to throw it with any degree of success. So it may come to a situation where Hugh Freeze has got to go to his freshman, Holden Griner. We'll see what he decides to do. And on the other side, Texas A&M loses Connor Wigman, who had x-rays that was negative, but he's hurt, and he's going to be out a few weeks. But Mac Johnson stepped in and was great. 7 of 11, 2 touchdowns, 1 to Jake, his brother, and then a deep ball to Evan Stewart that was perfectly thrown. And all the people on Twitter were saying what a special moment, Max to Jake, the brothers, and all that. And I kind of sarcastically said, because T-Bob chimed in on that, kind of sarcastically said, yeah, I didn't love it. It goes back to my ever consistent take. If you leave LSU and go somewhere else, I hope you get a 4-0 and meet the love of your life. I don't wish you a ton of football success. It's not my most redeeming quality. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I don't need LSU's former starting quarterback and a guy that was committed to them to come play at LSU to go to the team that I despise in this league and have a bunch of success. That doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies. Again, I hope their sociology grades are awesome. Just, on the football side, it's a character flaw of mine. Dark. But A&M was great on defense in this game. They had 15 tackles for loss. They had 8 sacks. And that was something that I talked about with this A&M team, saying, hey, they had these 5-star defensive linemen, and they're big and physical, and they look great getting off the bus, but they don't really create much of a pass rush, and they didn't against Miami. Tyler Van Dyke had all day to throw against Texas A&M, and he lit them up because they don't cover all that well. Well, whoever Auburn had at quarterback at a given series in that game had no time to do anything. And they tried to run it. They ran it 41 times, and they ran it for 144 yards, which is 3.5 yards a carry, but it just wasn't ever good enough to sustain anything, and they never got any points. Auburn did score 10 points in this game, and 7 of them were on a strip and score. It wasn't really a scoop and score. He just took it out of the running back's hand. But it was a fumble return for a touchdown. So just putrid offense by A&M and by Auburn, and A&M did enough to get it done. So we'll see how long Wigman's out. He'll be back by the time they play LSU, so that's not really of a concern to us. But Max looked good, did a good job in that game, and A&M was able to get out with a victory over Auburn to open their conference slate. That's really, I was surprised that Mississippi State scored 30 points, quite frankly. And it was interesting to see Mississippi State's offensive adjustment because they just let Will Rogers go back there and throw it deep. This was not like air raid Will Rogers. You could look at Will Rogers' stat line and go, oh, well, he threw it 48 times for 487 yards. Like, oh, they went back to the air raid. No, the air raid spreads it out and throws it all over the line of scrimmage. Will Rogers was taking shots down the field and hitting some shots down the field. But he at least looked more comfortable than he did 2 weeks ago against LSU. He just looked totally lost in that game. But Mississippi State had to throw the ball because they couldn't run it. They ran it 23 times for 32 yards. That's 1.4 yards per carry. But Spencer Rattler continued his excellent play. 18 of 20 in the game for 288 and 3 touchdowns. So if you put that together with Jaden Daniels from last week, what was Jaden, 30 of 34, I want to say? If that's the case, 48 of 54 over the last 2 weeks, Mississippi State has given up completion-wise. I mean, that's just pitch and catch. You could watch teams warm up pregame and not have that completion percentage, and teams are doing it against them in league games. South Carolina gets the win. I was shocked to see Mississippi State score 30 points. I thought for sure Carolina would cover. They only covered by a point, got home that way. But it's going to be a long year for State. They're not going to win many games. And South Carolina, we'll see what they've got. Big one with Tennessee coming up this week. Feels like the Vols may have some revenge on their mind in that game, but I guess we shall see. All right, let's take a time out. We'll talk Saints when we come back. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about Boudreaux's Electrical. Boudreaux's Electric, family business, 40 years here in South Louisiana. They are a certified Generac generator dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have operated this business down here for 40 years. They've got the same phone number they've had for 40 years. If you're looking to get a generator so that you're protected against power outages, whether it's storm season, afternoon showers, whatever the case may be, just call this number, 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562. They'll have someone come out to your house. They'll understand what your needs are. Maybe you've got a 4,000 square foot house. Maybe you've got a 1,400 square foot house. Either way, you can have a generator customized to that. Maybe if the power goes out, you want your whole house humming. You want the whole thing up and running. They can do that for you. Maybe you don't need that much. You just need the fridge and freezer to stay working and maybe keep the AC popping. At that point, you'll be fine. They can make that happen for you as well. And every single Generac generator that you buy from Boudreaux's Electric is going to come with a free 10-year warranty. Free 10-year warranty. Boudreaux's Electric, that number one more time, 985-397-1562. It's Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly...
Matt Moscona inviting to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We'll recap LSU, Arkansas, Saints, Packers, and your full football weekend. Join us for Monday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Look, give the Packers credit. They made the plays they needed to make to win the game. I feel like we let one slip through our hands, and we've got to be better than that. I thought second half, too many explosives, penalties down the field, which I thought, ended up costing us in the game. So we've got to get in more. We've got to make the corrections, and we've got to learn from this, and we've got to get better from it.
That's Dennis Allen after an absolutely brutal loss by the Saints. Look, what he didn't mention there is that I personally may have messed this up. I'm in a group text, 10 guys, and a lot of Saints fans in there. And it's 17-0. I just sent a little text in the group. It's like, black and gold Super Bowl? Defense is unbelievable. Haven't given up over 20 points in 10 games. They're shutting out the Packers. This is a clinic. And it didn't go well from there. So apologies from me to you Saints fans. I pretty much put the kibosh on the black and gold there up at Lambeau. A lot's going to be made of the Saints defense's inability to get stops late and preserve the lead. You had a 17-0 lead. You're ending the fourth quarter. You shouldn't let a team score 18 points in the quarter. You ought to be in a spot to win the game there. And that's perfectly fair. If you want to heap this on the defense and poor coverage, like, you can do that. I'm fine with it. Dennis Allen actually spoke to the fact that the team didn't cover very well in the second half.
They started taking their shots down the field, and they converted a couple. They got a couple of PI calls, which created some, flip the field. And I thought that was really kind of the difference.
I would listen to saying that the Saints didn't cover very well in the second half like that in the fourth quarter. Yeah, that's fine. I would absolutely listen to the fact that your professional kicker needs to make a 48-yard field goal to win the game. Like, I'm here for that as well. But I also can't run from the fact that here's what the Saints offense did after the field goal that they kicked to go up 17-0. 5 plays, 5 yards, punt. 6 plays, 14 yards, punt. 3 plays, 8 yards, punt. 5 plays, 20 yards, punt. 3 plays, 7 yards, punt. 8 plays, 47 yards, missed the field goal. You're just going on a bunch of 5-play punt. You can't do anything offensively. The only reason you have 17 points is because Shaheed ran a punt back. The defense is fine. They're going to be fine. They'll get Paulson Adebo back, and they'll 18 points on a road game, that's fine. The offense stinks. I know Carr got hurt. I know Jameis isn't great. I know Kamara's not there. I got it. The offense stinks. It was bad against Tennessee for a lot of the game. It was bad against Carolina for a lot of the game. And it was bad against Green Bay for most of the game. And I don't know how much blame goes on Derek Carr. I don't know how much blame goes on Jameis Winston. I don't know how much blame goes on the offensive line. I don't know how much blame goes on Pete Carmichael. I don't know exactly where all of these issues arise from. But the fact of the matter is we're 3 games into the season now, and the Saints offense is bad. And hopefully Trevor Penning develops and gets better. And hopefully Alvin Kamara's return gives them a dimension that they haven't quite had. And hopefully Jamal Williams comes back from his injury. And hopefully Carr's back and can develop a little bit of a rapport with Olave and with Thomas. And there's hope that you get better throughout the course of the season. But that's the future. The present and the immediate past is pathetic. If you just score on one drive in the second half, you win. One drive. And yeah, I'm looking at you, Blake Groupie. You need to make a 48-yarder. You need to make that kick. I'm not here with, he's a rookie. It's 48 yards. They count it. No, no. Make the kick. And that's a loss that you're going to look back and go, how many games we missed the playoff by? 1? And we were up 17-0 in Jordan Love's first home start and couldn't close the deal? That's what it feels like. It feels like when we were sitting there in the middle of January last year going, they did what against the Bucs in Tampa? Ingram stepped out of bed. And here, if they win that game, here's where it's just bad. And games come down to the wire in the NFL every single week, and the margin between winning and losing is very, very small. But the Saints are going to have to live in that margin because they're not a dominant team. They're going to have to make the plays late to win games. They're going to be in close games because they've got a good defense. They're going to hold teams between 14 and 24 most of the time, and the offense is going to have to figure out a way to go score 24, 28 points. As the dust settled on this thing, my mind continued to go to the offense. Whereas you would think it would go to the defense for allowing 18 in the fourth quarter and the kicker for doing that. And to me, it's like the offense put up 10 points. And this is not a situation where Carr went out and you went to some rookie who's never played before. Jameis Winston is very capable of going in there and leading a point-scoring drive. There's no reason that they should have 6 straight garbage possessions after they go up 17-0. No reason for that. Dennis Allen spoke after the game and said, yeah, we're still confident in what we got.
Yeah, look, I'm confident in our football team. We stumbled today. We'll learn from it. We'll get better from it. And we'll keep going.
Defense can't get much better. I mean, they cannot allow an 18 spot in the fourth quarter, but they did just allow 18 points. And for 11 games in a row, they haven't allowed 21. And the once greatest offense in the NFL under Peyton and Breeze is just dismal right now. And they tried Jameis, and they tried Dalton, they tried Taysom, and now Carr, and none of it looks awesome. They looked really good for one preseason drive when we were out there this year. And since that, it's been pretty blah. So we got an update on Derek Carr's injury. Dennis Allen did meet with the media today. We don't have the sound, but I can paraphrase his quote. Said the direct quote was, we dodged a bullet there. It's going to be week to week. It's an AC joint sprain in his shoulder. I would imagine you're going to see Jameis for a week or two, and then Carr will ease back in. I don't think it's one that he's going to try to play through the first week, and I don't think it's going to be one that keeps him out for 7 weeks. It's just going to be kind of a pain tolerance deal, and he's going to need some rest. So you've got a stretch coming up here where you've got Tampa at home, you're at the Patriots, and then you're at the Texans. And you've got a Thursday night game at home against the Jaguars, and then you're at the Colts. So that's the next 5 games. At some point in the middle there, he'll return. I'm not sure when. But you do have a quarterback who will be taking the snaps for you that's not going to be overwhelmed by the situation. Do I want Jameis Winston to be my franchise quarterback? I don't. Do I think he's capable of stepping in there and going 2-1 over 3 weeks against Tampa, New England, and the Texans? I do. And it needs to happen. So we'll continue to get updates as they become available from down there in Saints camp. But Dennis Allen says that they're week to week with Derek Carr. Alvin Kamara did practice today. He is fully reinstated back with the team. So today was his first day of practice. He'll be available for the game against Tampa coming up at noon on Sunday inside the Dome. So it'll be Jameis against his former club in Tampa there in the Dome on Sunday afternoon. We'll take another timeout. When we come back to LSU and Arkansas. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is that website. David Duvall and his team been in the game for 30 years, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets, and they are thrilled to announce that they will accept financing. Now, maybe it's a little more than you want to bite off for one check to redo your entire bathroom, but it's something you've really been thinking about doing. Now you can, because it's affordable. You can finance that cost through One Bath and Closet. Maybe it's a full-scale bathroom renovation, which David Duvall and his team do. Maybe it's just as simple as a tub-to-shower conversion. To take that tub out, put it in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower, change the look of your bathroom, change the aesthetic of your bathroom as well. On the closet side, if you got too much clutter, too much stuff, not enough room, let David Duvall and his team come over. We'll have that free consultation. He'll show you what they can do for you. I can promise you this, they'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Go to the website. You can check out the testimonials. You can look at pictures of their great work, and you can request that free consultation I tell you about every single day. It's over there at onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy.
Tuesday's OTB. We'll close out another week of football recap and all the Monday night action. We'll start to look forward to LSU Ole Miss as well as Saints Buccaneers. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I sent out a tweet yesterday. They're talking about it in the Bayou Ford chat. I was watching a little Whiskey and Wine as I was going through my day yesterday because they're obviously on the exact same time that I'm on the LSU Sports Radio Network. So when I get home, sometimes I'll listen after the show when I get home. Sometimes it's a Sunday thing. But I usually listen to what Matt and T-Bob had to say on Whiskey and Wine. And for those that are unfamiliar, Whiskey and Wine can be a little vulgar from time to time. When I say a little vulgar, it's exceptionally vulgar much of the time. But I noticed Myers, who's now 20 months old, asked to sit in the kitchen seat. He had no interest in watching Whiskey and Wine, nor did he even know it was on, but it was sitting on my laptop, and he was sitting in the chair, and from the back, it looked like he was watching Whiskey and Wine, so I snapped a picture of it. He was more concerned with the golf ball that was in his hand and paying attention, and he certainly doesn't listen to anything anyone says. But I put out, if he learns any profanity, I'll know where he got it, and I think a lot of people saw the tweet and were like, that's really not a great thing to show your kid because there's a lot of profanity flying around, and he probably doesn't need to see that. Well, he's incapable of digesting any of that at the moment, but somebody did manage to put on Twitter that that show is not for children and be a better parent. So I appreciate that guy for telling me to be a better parent. I promise he's not able to digest anything that's going on. It's a little early for that. We're close. We're a couple months away from that, but I think he was going to be okay. Plus, he wasn't watching at all, and I think he sat in the chair for a total of 80 seconds, which is about as long as he can do anything at this point. His attention span is shorter than anyone I know. So I promise not poisoning the young child's mind with T-Bob's post-game takes. But I thank you all for your concern. Let's hear a little bit more Brian Kelly sound from after the game. Whit Weeks had a big night, and Brian Kelly talked about his freshman linebacker.
He's active. Obviously, he impacted the game in a positive way. You know, the running game from the running back standpoint was not a factor. You know, the quarterback was a factor. Certainly, the draw play, and, you know, they carved out our four technique a couple of times on a G play. But I would say that in terms of his run game fits, they look to be really good. We lost coverage on the tight end late in the game. But other than that, I thought he had a nice game.
I guess obviously Weeks was supposed to be on the tight end there is what it sounds like. So that's a bummer if that was in fact the case. But Weeks had 9 tackles. I thought the play he made on the inside shovel pass where he filled the gap and stood the running back up was a really nice play. He had a quarterback hurry where he got back there and created a lot of disruption and ended up resulting in a sack. He didn't get the sack, but he kind of created all the havoc in there with his athleticism and his energy. I think he's done a really, really good job. And even when Omar Speights comes back, I think that Whit Weeks has a role on this team. And we were constantly looking at what the linebacker situation would look like depending on what Harold Perkins was doing. And at this point, it's pretty evident that when Perkins is going to go down to the line of scrimmage to be the disruptive force that he can be, they need some other guys to play on the inside at the second level. And Whit Weeks, I think, has done a really good job with that. So that's one that I could not have forecasted in August. I just didn't think that was a guy that was gonna break through and be an inside backer. I thought that Perkins would do that a ton. I thought that Speights would be an anchor there, that Greg Penn would step in when needed, and that would be kind of your rotation at inside linebacker. But Weeks has been really good, and if you told me there was a Weeks that had kind of made some strides by the middle of September, I'd probably tell you it was West, and instead it's Weeks, it's Whit, the young freshman. So that's a guy that's got a really, really bright future here at LSU. LSU was awesome at getting after Will Rogers 2 weeks ago. He didn't have a lot of time. It was coming from all angles. They got to him for sacks. They created early throws, made him uncomfortable much of the game. They just didn't necessarily do that as much with KJ Jefferson. And Brian Kelly talked about the lack of a pass rush on Saturday night.
I think we brought mostly a 3 and 4 man rush. When we brought 5, we were able to influence the pass rush a little bit, but we had a hard time, getting him on the ground. So, I wasn't that concerned about the lack of a pass rush as much as I was. We didn't do a great job of getting him on the ground. So when we had chances and he got out, we missed tackles. We're young at that position, and it's an area that, we know who we are. We got to get a big guy like that on the ground.
This pass rush is going to be LSU's real chance on defense. I just don't think it's going to be the guys covering consistently well against the better passing offenses in the SEC. I think LSU's going to have to go get A&M's quarterback. I think LSU's going to have to go get Jackson Dart. Brady Cook, same way. We'll see what happens with Alabama and Tuscaloosa. But, for LSU's defense to be good enough to accomplish the goals that are still set out for this team, I think that the pass rush is going to have to do it. And I do think there was probably more pass rush than the stats will show from this game. But KJ Jefferson's just really good. He's very poised. He's very nimble. I mean, the play he makes where he got loose in the first half and made that long run that went down the middle of the field out towards the right. They did get a pass rush on that play, and they got into the backfield, and they touched the quarterback, but they didn't get him down, and he was able to get free and go. Jackson Dart's done a little bit of that for Ole Miss this year. Max Johnson did a little bit for A&M on Saturday, kind of got loose and picked up some first downs with his legs. So they're going to have to win a lot. It's going to have to be a Gofu. It's going to have to be Perkins. It's going to have to be Mekhi Wingo. Going to have to be Savion Jones. Those guys are going to have to win with the pass rush, and when they get home, they're going to have to make a play on the quarterback. And it's tough on KJ. He's 240 pounds. He's a tough guy to get on the ground, and LSU just didn't quite do as good a job as they would like to in the game. Statistically speaking, LSU had 3 hurries in the game and 3 sacks. You had Weeks and Mekhi Wingo combined for a half a sack. You had Deshaun Womack, who got back there for a sack, and you had Greg Penn, who got back there for a sack as well. But those numbers need to come up, and they were good against Jordan Rodgers, but they're going to have to come up again. I mean, you don't necessarily have to worry about getting a monster pass rush on whatever Auburn's got back there, or certainly on Milroe. You've got to contain those guys as opposed to go get them, because if you try to go get them and you miss and you let them do something easy that they're good at, like running, then that's no good. But like Jackson Dart this weekend, you can't just let him sit back there. LSU's going to have to win with some pass rush. Just when you get back to the quarterback in this instance with Jackson Dart, he's a little bit easier to manage, I think, as far as getting sacks. So the defense is disappointing. I said that in the second segment that we did today. They've got to play better than they did this weekend. Giving up 31 points to Arkansas is frustrating, but the fact of the matter is they did win the game, and that's the most important thing, is that you got to win. 104.5 ESPN, along with Acura Baton Rouge, teaming up to honor our military and raise funds for Folds of Honor. This nonprofit organization provides scholarships to the spouses and children of soldiers who were killed or disabled in service. To donate to this important cause, visit our website at 1045ESPN.com. Everyone who makes a donation will be entered to win exclusive prizes, Folds of Honor, to honor their sacrifice and educate their legacy. There was one more Brian Kelly soundbite that I wanted to play, and it was on the roughing the passer call, Casey. It's number 3 from Brian Kelly. That was a hot topic among Tiger fans after the game, and Brian Kelly gave his thoughts on it.
All I can tell you is that there was no blow to the head. There was no blow to the neck area. He thought it was unnecessary. My response was, he's 252 pounds. You try to tackle him. We couldn't get him down on the ground, and he was not trying to do anything else but try to get him on the ground. So, our supervisor officials will look at it, we'll send it in, and we'll get some kind of response from them.
I thought that was a miss by the officials. I know what their job is. I know what their tendency is to protect the passer and make sure that you're doing everything you can to keep those guys upright, healthy, and in the game. But it did not appear late. It didn't appear late live or on the replay. It wasn't up around the head. Even if you slap a guy on the helmet, you're going to get a 15-yard penalty, and that's just part of it. And we'll say that I hate that rule, but that's the way you enforce it. Unnecessary is subjective. That's the nature of what the official deems to be necessary or unnecessary. But Perkins is flying in there. He's running really hard. It's a bang-bang play. It was just after the release. He hit him. It's just one of those deals where it's very exposed, it's very out in the open, and the tendency of the official is going to be to help the quarterback out. I didn't love the call. I thought Brian Kelly tap danced around it very nicely. I thought that he stated his case there pretty eloquently without crossing the line. I don't think he'll get fined for that comment there either way. And we'll see what they find out when they send it off to the supervisor officiating. When I look at that play, I don't see a flagrant. I don't see a 15-yard penalty. I don't see a roughing the passer. I don't see a dangerous play. I didn't see an unnecessary play. I just saw a bang-bang play with a really athletic defender, a really athletic quarterback, and two guys out there on the perimeter trying to make a play, and I thought they missed that call. It was a big one in the game, but it didn't end up mattering too much to LSU as they found a way to go down there and get points at the end. So that's it for our Brian Kelly sound for today, and just about it for us here on this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're going to come back, we're going to play a little bit of Take It or Leave It, and we'll get on down the road. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app's easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options. They include spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues, knowledgeable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225.
Sandiger, join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We're at Mike Anderson Seafood, West Lee at Nicholson. Andy Isco is with us from Las Vegas. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Couple of Monday nighters tonight in the National Football League. The Eagles will head down to Tampa to take on the Bucs in a battle of 2-0s. I just don't believe in the Bucs. I don't believe in Baker. Saints will see him on a short week for the Bucs coming up on Sunday in the Dome. I think Philly takes care of business there. It's a 5-point line in that one. The more interesting game to me, for obvious reasons, is the Rams headed to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. That's a 7:15 start time on ESPN. The Bengals are a 3-point favorite in the game, which tells me they believe Joe Burrow is going to play. I know why he's playing. I'm not surprised that he's going to play, and that's the report, is that there's a real chance he's going to play. He's just doing more harm than good. He's out there. He's ineffective. He's re-aggravating it. It's going to linger all year long, and the Bengals are going to end up nowhere. They are better off in a playoff situation with a healthy Burrow that's missed a couple of games and cost him a seeding line than they are with a Gimp out there. He's trying, and they're 0-2, and he feels desperate, like they've got to get this win at home. That's how he's wired. He's going to play. I just don't want him to play. He needs to sit for a couple of weeks, and he's not going to do it. So we'll see if the Bengals can get a win and beat the Rams. We shall see. All right, Jacob Beck, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. The Oakland A's gifted Miguel Cabrera a bottle of Camus wine over the weekend.
Yeah.
A bottle of wine for a recovering alcoholic. Take it or leave it.
Going to have to leave that. A little bit of a mess up there by the A's. Not the best plan. Miguel Cabrera obviously had some public bouts with alcohol issues, driving under the influence and stuff like that. So he's gone to recovery and is sober, and he's doing his victory tours last year in Major League Baseball with the Tigers, and it's very customary for teams to give gifts, and the A's, because they do most everything wrong, got him a bottle of wine. Nice bottle of wine, like an $85 bottle of wine. That's a nice gesture, just not for a guy who's not drinking. That's not a. Let's look into that. It's not like it's some obscure guy. This guy won the Triple Crown. He's going to the Hall of Fame. We've seen him in the public eye for 23 years. Like, that's just not a great plan by the A's.
Is that worse than the Orioles giving him a brick? I don't know if you saw that.
I did not. At least, what's the brick of? Is it from Camden Yards?
I think so, but it's just a brick and it has like a plaque on it. I don't know.
That's not great. I'll tell you this. My parents, LSU Notre Dame, and I guess that was 98 when they played that game. My parents went with some friends, and they stayed in Chicago before they went to South Bend. And this was a little bit different time, and my dad was able to walk into Wrigley. It was just open, so he walked in. I was a huge Cubs fan at that point, and they were redoing the bricks behind home plate. Behind home plate. It was baseball season was over. And so he walked down to the construction guys, like, hey, can I have one of those bricks? Like, yeah. So they handed it to him, and I've got the brick at my parents' house.
Wow.
Wrigley Field brick, 1998. There you go.
All right, moving on here. Europe retained the Solheim Cup with a 14-14 draw.
Yeah.
That's a precursor for a Ryder Cup win for the Europeans. Take it or leave it.
I will leave it because I want to leave it. I don't have an actual pick just yet. I'm going to need to digest a few things over the week, but I will tell you this, and I think 99.9% of the listenership will think I've lost my brain here, but I am going to be up at 12:30 a.m. Friday morning to watch the entire morning session until I have to go to work. I'll be up. So I'm going to try to go to sleep at like 9 o'clock, which is way earlier than normal on Thursday, and see if I can't sleep until midnight. But at that point, I'll be up and watching the Ryder Cup on Friday morning. Can't wait. But I would like to win the Solheim Cup, but the Ryder Cup means more to me.
Also, winning with a draw, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, it'd be really easy if they would just do an uneven amount of matches, but they don't do that. So it is what it is. Those are the rules. It's one of those deals, like when they say, well, what if they did this? And it's like, just tell me what the rules are.
Yeah.
And then I'll play by the rules. So, I want to sit here and go, you didn't really win. We tied. But they made it pretty clear. If you have the cup, you retain it with 14 points. And they got 14 points. They retained the cup.
All right, moving on. Dan Lanning ran up the score on Colorado. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I got Denton Day's thoughts on this. I'm going to take it. Like, at the very least, he was making a statement. And it's weird because Oregon and Colorado are going their separate ways. They're not going to be in a conference together moving forward. And so I just thought going forward on those fourth downs late in the game, instead of, it just felt like he scored touchdowns. It felt like they were kind of running it up a little bit. Either way, they just annihilated them. And I guess the folks that are all in on Dion at this point are just going to say, hey, they didn't have Travis Hunter, not a fair fight. But like it just says that roster's like a long way from being good. And that's not the last time they're going to get beat down this year. Like they've got real issues.
And Oregon only scored one touchdown in the second half. So, I mean, maybe they ran I don't know if you can say they ran up the score if they scored them basically all their points in the first half.
But Lanning was fired up, man.
He was.
They're here for clicks. We're here to win games. Like, oh, man, whatever you need to do to get your guys to play well. They played pretty well.
The Dolphins are the best team in the NFL. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I mean, sure, I'll take it. I mean, that's a frightening offense. I mean, Waddle didn't even play yesterday, and they scored 70.
Only the fifth team to ever score 70.
It's look, we'll figure it out over time. But like Tua's playing great as long as he can stay healthy, which is just a massive, massive, massive question mark. They're fun to watch. It's almost got a college feel to it with the potent offense side of things. You usually don't see NFL teams able to do that week in and week out, but they're fun to watch. They've got a bunch of really talented players. Devon Achane, which was A-Chain at A&M, and now it says
different.
A-Chan.
Okay.
There was a Twitter beef back and forth because in Miami yesterday he said it was A-Chan, and the Miami reporter basically chastised all of college football, specifically like the A&M beat, for not getting it right for 3 years. And Brent Zwerneman, who writes for the Houston Chronicle, literally tweeted a video of them asking him to say his name 2 years ago. And he said, Devon A-Chain. So they just took, so he said it differently 2 different times when asked how to say his name. So I'll give the A&M beat a break.
Last one here. The Chicago Bears are the worst team in the NFL. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it.
I'll take it.
I mean, they're just terrible. And what a sobering reality when you realize your quarterback's not it. And it happens to them a lot. They just did it with Trubisky, so it's not a new feeling for them. But he's not good. This is year 3. Burrow was in the Super Bowl in year 2. I'm not suggesting everybody's got to do that, but you're not making huge leaps in year 3 or 4, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't think Josh Allen's first year was great, and maybe there are some exceptions of guys that really do turn it on after a couple of years, but Fields just looks terrible. He looks slow. He looks indecisive. At times he's inaccurate. It's just bad. He ran a lot last year and did a really good job doing that, but he can't win you throwing the ball. And their defense stinks too. So the Bears are going to have to go back to the drawing board. And there's a real chance that this could be a 3-14 team. And at that point, you're right squarely in the Caleb Williams mix, even though you've got Fields. That's brutal. That's it for take it or leave it. I'm sitting here watching the Yankees take the lead on the Diamondbacks. We like that. Cubs get a sweep over the weekend. All things very, very good on the baseball side of things. I need the Yankees to beat the Diamondbacks. Last week of Major League Baseball here. They'll wrap things up in the regular season coming up on Sunday. So we shall see. But go Yankees. Love the Yankees. Always been a diehard Yankees guy for about 4 hours. That's it for our Monday show. Again, hope your work week is off to a really, really good start. If you missed any of the show today, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. You can find all our shows there. Off the Bench is there. Live at Lunch is there. Hunt Palmer Show there. After Further Review, all the shows right there, 1045ESPN.com. If you'd rather do it on an app, I'm generally lean towards Spotify more often than not. We're there. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Apple Podcast. And, of course, we are on YouTube. If you're looking for our channel for Hunt on Saints, Hunt on LSU, subscribe to those. You can get our content each and every day. Beck does a great job of cutting our segments down to little 10-minute digestible videos that you can check out right there, Hunt on Saints and Hunt on LSU. Subscribe to those channels. We appreciate it. Open the show with 30 minutes straight on LSU and Arkansas. I started with the positive stuff because there was some positive. They did win, and they played really well for the most part of the game on offense. The defense is a huge concern, and they've got to get some stuff cleaned up there for sure. Denton Day from College Football Overtime was with us at 1:30, kind of talking the storylines from around the country in college football. My results from SEC picks, I was 5-3 over the weekend. Still 3 games under 500 for the year, but we're moving in the right direction. Plus my takes on the league games that were Saints talk at 2:15. I'm pinning a lot of this on the offense for not being able to do anything once you got a 17-0 lead. But to each his own opinion. That's kind of the way that I thought about it. We had some sound from Dennis Allen there as well, and then some LSU defensive thoughts from Brian Kelly before we played Take It or Leave It. Excited for tomorrow's show. Going to have Glenn West of Go 24/7. Going to have Sharif Ishak talking Saints. We'll have some sound from Brian Kelly's press conference today as well. So plenty to get to as we ease into LSU Ole Miss as well as Saints Bucks. Matt Moscona is about to drive you home on After Further Review. We're back tomorrow, same time and same place. It's 1 to 3 every day, The Hunt Palmer Show.